All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, for the next couple of weeks here, let me go ahead and start the presentation. For the next couple of weeks here, we're going to be exploring some different models now that you know or you've thought about what it means to be an effective teacher. Now that you've considered what evidence-based practices might look like, now the last thing we're going to look at is models. And so over the next couple of weeks, you're going to develop some understanding of specific models. So in this presentation, what I want to do is I want to give you sort of some background information on the different models so that you can pick which model you want to read about, write about, and explore. The end of these 2 weeks, you're going to have the job or the task of deciding on a concept or an idea that you want to explore in more depth, doing a little bit more of an academic paper. So be thinking about that in the back of your head. Always at the end of this journey is going to be you conducting an inquiry into a teaching model or an evidence-based practice that you find important to know more about for reasons that are relevant to your own teaching and or coaching. So what are teaching models? Models of teaching are teaching methods of teaching or underlying philosophies that guide teaching methods. Effective teachers integrate different teaching models and methods depending on the students they are teaching and their needs. So you're going to see that I'm going to go through a number of different models, and you're probably going to identify with several of these models because you're probably going to be at different points have sort of used some version of these models or something that you think is based off of these models. And that's totally understandable because none of these models are intended to be 100% inclusive of what you're going to do as a teacher. So what you're going to do then over the next 2 weeks, you're going to broadly be introduced to 10 models of teaching, 5 a week. So you'll get 5 this week, 5 next week. After these quick introductions, you're going to select one to read further about and then complete a written reflection and discussion post about. At the conclusion of this exploration, you'll be asked to conduct an inquiry into one topic that is especially relevant to your teaching or coaching. So this week's topics, we're going to look at direct instruction, concept attainment, inductive modeling, reciprocal teaching, and question-answer relationship. So direct instruction is something that is really important, particularly right now when we're looking at literacy. Some of you that are working in classrooms that are K-3, you're probably really been a lot of discussion around this idea of explicit teaching or instructivist teaching. This is the model that we're going to relate to when you see children playing school in a in a preschool. It's probably the direct instruction model that they're going to use because this is the model that we're probably most familiar with. It is a model that we often associate with things like lecture and drill and skill, but it actually can be a lot more effective than both of those. And so if this was something that you wanted to do for your inquiry, for your further inquiry, I think that it would be really useful for you to think about looking into someone like Anita Archer, who is an expert in explicit teaching. The I do, we do, you do, or the gradual release of responsibility model is really something that is important to direct instruction and why it is more than just a drill and skill or drill and kill. So in the I do portion of your lesson, a teacher who is doing direct instruction is going to engage the students in a focused activity, going to introduce very specific objectives and rationale for what this class is going to be doing, present new information to the class, and then check for understanding, meaning making sure that they're getting the direct instruction, what's happening. After that, the class is going to go into a we do, which means that there's going to be some time for guided practice where the teacher is going to work with the students and allow the students to self-correct and make sure that the students are ready for independent practice, which would be the you do section of a direct instruction lesson. And finally, direct instruction would include some kind of closure, some way for the students to be able to feel the sense of what the next step will be. And so direct instruction is one model, one really important model for us to consider. And if this was something, particularly those of you that are working in some of these now, these changes that we're looking at to really kind of refine our literacy practices, you might want to read the section on direct instruction. The next teaching model that the textbook talks about is this idea of concept containment. And I put up here, I put up the phylum for a, is it a fox? I think it is. Yeah, I think that's a fox. It could be a dog, but I think, or maybe it's a cat. I don't even know. Let's look here. What is the family? It's a canine. So yeah, I think that's supposed to be a fox. But what this is it's this idea of, just like we do this when we work in biology on phylums, what this is it's about funneling students in their thinking by using categories. So in a concept containment model of teaching, this is really guided experience into categorizing and exploring the characteristics of items. So it involves a lot of observing. In such a lesson, students will be asked to observe, to analyze, classify, develop hypotheses, verbalize their ideas, and analyze other ideas. So these are the kinds of classes where maybe you give students word sorts or vocabulary sorts, and they start to put them into different categories, and they start to think, and then they maybe look at some subcategories, or they think about how these different categories, how these things can be, hold on. Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
I just want to say I found